Hello everyone, my name is Wayne.
And I'm Rebecca.
And we are Your Bourbon Journey.
Welcome to episode 9 of Bourbon Trail Tales and Tastes, where we are revisiting a trip on July 31st, 2022, where we had just left New Riff Distilling and headed over to Ludlow, Kentucky to visit Second Sight Distillery. We remember this day very well. We don't have trouble recalling our memories from this day whatsoever. But the first one I'm going to share before I pass it on to Wayne is that I was navigating and he was driving and he kept saying, "Where the heck am I? Where the heck am I? Why are we parking in front of a funeral home?" So Wayne, after we arrived, what's the first thing that you remember?
After we arrived, well, after going through this old town with some classic looking houses, some that weren't so great, we pull up in front of a, like she said, it's like this funeral parlor type thing. Like, where the heck am I? Literally, that's what I thought. And so we walk across the street, and in the window you can see the still. We go in and check in, and we sit down for our tour. And we proceed to listen to, what are the names of the gentlemen?
Rick and Carus.
Rick and Carus. Talk about how they got involved in distilling. And it goes back to them actually being in Las Vegas and performing on the shortest running Circus Olay show. And the minute they told this story, I just started laughing. And it's, of all the places that we've been, it's the only time that I've actually started laughing during a distillery tour. The story was funny, it was crazy.
Don't share it though, make them go.
No, you need to go and listen to it because it's funny. So when they get done, they start talking about the still. And the still is shaped like a genie. It is the coolest looking still I have seen on the tour so far.
And where did they get such a crazy looking still?
That part, I mean, I do not remember.
Facebook Marketplace.
Okay, parts of it they did. The one thing that I distinctly remember that they talked about, Rebecca will show a picture here, is the worm for the still is inside this large glass looking ball. And the ball,
it looks kind of like a crystal ball.
Yeah, and the ball was actually something they purchased off of Facebook Marketplace that was used as a cover for one of the street lights in town. And it's fantastic looking. The still, you need to go to this place because the still is just, it's incredible. It is I would love to have it in the house. I really would.
And it's a working still. It's not just there for kicks and giggles. I mean, it actually is what they distill everything on. And they even have a few people now, we've been in there numerous times since then, that they actually work with to, they still out of there as well. They're distilling out of there as well. So the still is being used for more than just their juice now, which is kind of cool. And let me tell you a part I remember we went, they went through this whole thing about the story Wayne was telling you about how they got the still, about their life of, they were set designers, basically set designers for Cirque du Soleil. And so they have a lot of creativity. And I think one of the things that they talked about was they wanted to find a way to use that creativity. And one of the projects they had in Vegas was this guy bought this Hungarian still, wasn't it? And I won't tell you the whole story about it, but they ended up somehow getting drafted into helping them build this Hungarian still that had only instructions in Hungarian. So you'll have to hear more about that. But that kind of got them interested.
It did.
In the whole process of distilling.
It did. And a part of the story was they got it all together. And when they got it all together, they realized they did not correctly put it together. And since nobody was Hungarian in language, I believe they had to find somebody that knew how to speak Hungarian so they could kind of take it apart to the point where it was correctly built and install it. So that's kind of where their love for things got started.
Yeah, but I'm saying you can all relate to that, right? I mean, we built this bar and we had it halfway done and realized we'd put something on backwards and we had to take it apart and do it again, right? So I think if anybody watching that has ever gotten something in a box and instructions you can barely read because they're so small and the pictures, which are not 3D, have probably dealt with this situation before. So it's pretty funny. So we really related to them. And so they went through that whole piece there and talked about what they were doing. And they said, and it's just this little, little like storefront in downtown Ludlow, and which is fabulous. They have an area for gathering where people can come in there and they can have food delivered there. Remember, we were there one time, they had pizzas delivered. Somebody was having pizzas delivered for a party. They have a nice little bar, and in the mornings, it's actually a coffee bar, which is cool. We've certainly enjoyed some coffee there too.
The coffee's outstanding.
And so anyway, so they say, well, this is pretty much the facility. Let's take you to the Rick House. And this is where I got the giggles. So they took us to the Rick House, and we walked back through this curtain, and they said, well, it's actually a Rick closet. So they opened us all these teeny tiny little barrels. And if you know much about, craft distilling, sometimes they will start out with the smaller barrels. A, they're less expensive. B, it takes less time to age things. Therefore, they don't have to wait as long to be bottling something that has appropriate age on it. So, but it was just really cute. And one of the customers had made a little macrame cover for one to bring them luck, and it was hanging on everything about them is just fabulous. I mean, you just have to go and embrace it and be embraced by them.
Well, right? Everything about them is funny. They really enjoy what they're doing, but there's a passion that they have and an enjoyment they have for life that really, I think, comes through. In the back area that we walked through, we got to see part of the lab where they do the mixing and the blending and tasting. And then we ended up kind of going in a back area and coming back out. We came out to what is the coffee shop / bar. And the first thing you see as you exit the door to your left is this gigantic mustache that you can ride. That they converted from one of these old, if you're my age, from the 60s and 70s, these little quarter type things you'd see in front of a Kmart or
ride the horse.
Ride a horse. They converted one to this large mustache that you could throw a quarter in and get on and ride the mustache. And
I got him to do it one day.
I did. It was funny.
I wasn't going to get up. I got him to do it so I could take pictures. So I might have to share this.
Yeah. It was funny. And then, like I said, the bar, you get in there, and
it's a beautiful bar too.
It's a beautiful bar.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
And it's the only place we have been on the tour where you walk up and you can basically order, say, a single malt, ounce pour and get that. And then the guy behind you, I need a cafe latte, whatever, and da-da-da. And it's just...
They have a huge espresso machine.
Yes, yeah. and like I said, really good coffee. And on the weekends, they also have shows where they'll have magicians come out, I believe different singers. It's a of all the places we've been on the tour, or on the trail, excuse me, it's the one place that really is heavily involved in the community and really has set up a multi-purpose function for what they do. In my opinion, it's my favorite business model. And if I had money, it's probably the one I would buy into. I love the place.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just exudes love for a community when you're in there. Everyone that comes in seems to know one another, and they have their regulars, and it's just, and it's a beautiful little town. It's right on the river. It's right on the Ohio River. That's, northern Kentucky at all. The Ohio River separates Kentucky and Ohio, and they have a lot of homes that are staggered on the hillside looking down to the river. I mean, it is just gorgeous. It's a gorgeous little town. A lot of really historic homes and such there. And they're right in the center of it, and being a big part of what that town's all about. And we just love it, and we just can't go to northern Kentucky without stopping in there. And we're going to be stopping in there in just a couple of weeks.
Yes,
and I'm very excited about that.
The funny thing about this place is, and this has just happened by happenstance and not planned. Anyway, one of the things that has just happened just by accident is the last couple times that we have gone there, we have ended up having our 100th unique bourbon experience one time, and we ended up having the owner sign a bottle stating that. And then the next time we went there, it ended up being our 150th unique bourbon experience. And the owner ended up signing a bottle like that. It wasn't planned, it wasn't intended, it just happened that way. And it's kind of cool because, once again, both of us really like it.
Yeah, it's great. And We'll do some other tastings of theirs coming up because we have some things we haven't shared. I mean, we have tasted their you have seen us do a review. If you watch the our Advent calendar, we did their single malt, which is fabulous. It's Wayne's favorite single malt of all time now. And they have an absinthe that we've not yet cracked open that I'm very excited to do. So we'll do an absinthe day. It's made with hibiscus flowers, so it's gorgeous red. But anyway, but today let's go ahead and do the taste part.
Okay.
And if we think of other things about the trip when we're there, we can talk about that too. But today we're going to share something we bought that day, which is this Oak Eye Bourbon. Doesn't that sound interesting? Let's tell you a little bit about it. So Oak Eye Bourbon is a Kentucky bourbon whiskey. What they say on their website about it is that you can see your future of bourbon. Our bourbon is handcrafted in ultra small batches by two friends on a still they designed and built to deliver unique flavor. Having perception beyond the ordinary sight, only our barrels know the future of the bourbon that's resting within. Isn't that cool? I think that's kind of a cool thing to say. So this particular bottle of bourbon was bottled in July of 2022, so it was just right before we had gotten there. The mash bill is 72% corn, 16% wheat, 7% malted barley, and 5% rye, so it's technically a 4-grain. They use a 15-gallon barrel for this that had a char 3 level, and the entry proof into the barrel was 115 proof. It only needed to age because it was a 15-gallon barrel, so it only aged for 1 year, 8 months, and came out at 92.1 proof. But again, because you have such a small barrel, all the liquid is really touching some part of the wood pretty readily. And we purchased this for $49 on our first visit for the 750 milliliter size. And they also do 375 milliliter. We have several different iterations of things they've done with the 375, but the Oak Eye Bourbon we did get at the 750 size. Yeah, they do a couple. They have a hazelnut whiskey, and they also have a cherry flavored rum, which is really interesting. And we already talked about the fact they have the single malt and the absinthe, which is pretty cool. But let's taste this.
Okay.
Let's check out this baby. It's been, I mean, we've had some out of this bottle. You can see this bottle's not gone without having some attention to it. We've had some of this bottle. And again, it's got a pretty nice color on it. And that's because it was in a 15-gallon barrel.
Yep. Medium amber.
It's got some good legs forming on it, which is very nice. Got some viscosity there.
Yeah, there we go.
Let's check out the nose. Yeah, I'm even getting some wood notes on it.
Yeah, you can tell it's 4-grain.
Yeah, it's got some lovely grain notes.
I'm picking up barley. I'm picking up wheat.
Yeah, because it is 16% wheat.
Yeah. I'm picking up a heavy temptation to drink it.
It's got some good sweetness on it. It's probably been 6 or 8 months since we've tried it.
I get a lot of barley with it.
Well, the barley content is actually a little bit higher than the rye. So let's go ahead and taste it.
Okay.
Just Second Sight.
Second Sight. Cheers.
I'm getting barley on my first taste there. It's got that really kind of luscious, almost cereal kind of note to it.
It's a little bit effervescent in my mouth right now. I'm getting a lot of barley. That's the main thing I'm picking up right now is barley.
But it's also got, and again, 1 year, 8 months in the barrel, but I'm getting a lot of oak notes on this, which is really interesting. Of course, it's called Oak Eye Bourbon, so, maybe that was intentional. But I'm getting quite a few oak notes, which is terrific. But they had a char 3, which isn't the highest level of char, so it's going to get some good aging on that.
There's definitely cinnamon. I almost get a little coffee in it.
I'm getting a nuttiness, and that's probably from the 16% wheat. It's almost, it's kind of like a hazelnut or an almond kind of nut, a very light nut. It's not like a peanut at all, or a walnut. It's not like that at all, but it's more like a hazelnut or an almond.
Well, when I get wheat, I tend to either like it or I really like it. One of the two. Although pastry is probably a lane or bread that I will tend to get when I start picking up really good wheat.
But this is really good. Let's have another sip. Finish. I can feel the finish, and it's 92.1 proof. But it seems to be lasting.
It is.
It goes in so easy. It is just, and I'm not talking, because you can drink an 80 proof bourbon that's bottom shelf and it just burns your mouth when you put it in your mouth. This is just super nice and soft and pleasant as it goes on your tongue, and then as you swallow it, it just stays kind of warm and lingering.
For me, it's the two. It's hitting two lanes with me, and that is barley on the front, and I'm picking up cinnamon in the back. And then there's like you had mentioned, there was a couple of things here and there that pop up. I've gotten a little coffee. There's a little bit of barrel, and maybe a little bit of wheat. I'm not picking up any rye in it, so to speak, but I think the rye may be helping kick up a little bit of that type cinnamon.
Well, and the rye spices, I'm agreeing with you on that. Like, I still have the nuttiness. The other thing on the finish I'm feeling like I got a little bit of white pepper happening. Not really black pepper at all. It's more of a white pepper, and it's still lingering. Again, it's a 92 proof, and it's still lingering on the palate. I have not taken another sip, and I can still feel it. I can still taste it, which I think is a huge credit to their craft.
I'll say this is really an enjoyable drink, and I think what you've hit on and said multiple times is very true. For a 92 proof, this has a lot of character, and it actually has a lot of pop. I mean, I think probably if I were tasting this on a blind, I'd probably be thinking this is maybe 96 and maybe close to 100.
Close to 100.
I wouldn't be guessing close to 90.
Well, and I think probably because they had the lower barrel entry proof, at 115, you can go as high as 125, but they did 115. So, you're not getting as much water added at the end of the process to get to 92 if you go in at 115. That's the Michter's approach, right? They go in a very low, I think it's 103 for Michter's. A couple other places go into lower, I think Maker's Mark is a lower barrel entry proof too. But, that gives you a chance, so you're aging what's going to be there at the end versus, watering it down later. But each approach is good. I mean, we like whiskey made both ways, but this is very interesting for sure. And I'm still getting the finish, and I'm just amazed. You kind of need to go visit, then you get it.
Yes, yes, and it's worth it. It's one of the places what we have not done yet there is, I know that they have stuff going on the weekend, Friday and Saturdays, and performances. It's one of the things I've kind of wanted to do is go there on a night where we know that they're doing stuff and maybe stay close by. And there are several hotels because we're not very far from Florence, which is a really good place to go if you go in that area. Yeah,
we often stay at one of the Marriotts by the airport. And if you don't know, the Cincinnati airport is actually in Florence, Kentucky. Pro tip, saves you a lot of money versus staying in Cincinnati or even in Covington or Newport. Florence and it's only 15 minutes away, which is really nice. But I do think it's special occasions only that they're open later, because their typical closing time is 6 o'clock. So it wouldn't be in the evening, so to speak, unless they had a special event going on.
Right, and I
just didn't want anyone to go and think they're going to have something there at 9 o'clock at night.
It's one of the things.
It's not a bar,
right?
Like it's open till 10 or something like that.
Right. It's one of the things that you would have to check their Facebook page, and they are very clear about things that are coming up. And like I said, it is a place. If I knew they had something going on, I would just I would dig going there one time in the evening and see. I know they've had magicians and other types of interesting novelty
and sometimes
acts.
Local performers. Typically it's local folks giving them a shot, which is great. It's great.
Well, Second Sight, gentlemen, we've met you several times. We love your product. We love your still. We love your story. We love the place. And we always wish you the very best. We look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks when we're back out there to visit again. Keep on rocking, and if you like what we do, please subscribe and follow, and tune in next time when we go to our next destination,
which is Old Forester.
Old Foe.
Cheers.
Cheers.